What is more frightening than dying? Story 1. Not dying, watching everyone you love and will ever love die, then forever having the fear of being alone. Story 2. Being alive with told your cancer is terminal, and your family goes ahead and acts like you're dead. Everybody bailed. There's no way to describe the hurt, confusion, loneliness, anger. It's nothing I'd ever wish on my worst enemy. Story 3. Living in constant pain. My grandfather had stage 4 lung cancer, and near the end of his life it had spread to his spine, which paralyzed his legs and was completely bedridden with a catheter and hooked up to a constant morphine drip. A once 170-lb man was now aided to a collapse and in constant pain, even with the morphine. I remember my dad coming home one day extremely upset because his father asked him to end his life. He was in so much pain he just wanted it over, but due to the laws, it is illegal to assist in tragic end. My grandfather had to agonize for another month before finally passing away. Answer. My mother is in relatively good health for 85, but she has had a husband die quickly from a severe heart attack and a sister slowly waste away over the period of a year. She wants to go quickly and has insinuated that she wants a DNR and also if I would have the heart courage to pull the plug and let her die, as opposed to let her suffer in a hospital for weeks, months. I have often wondered if I could cover her face with a pillow and put her out of her misery and suffer the consequences to let her be at peace. Story 4. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of house centipedes, silverfish. To me, they are what I expect the milliseconds you feel right before passing. Story 5. Prison, psychiatric hospital, locked-in syndrome, being captured by some insane fuckhead who doesn't eliminate me. Story 6. Agonizing pain and complete debilitation with dependence on others, when there is no hope for tomorrow being better than today. Answer. Hey, so, I was there for 2 years. Often, for what I have, there's no hope for tomorrow being better than today. But I was just angry. I was more than angry. I couldn't watch TV because the light hurt too much. I could barely walk to the bathroom through the pure agony I was in. I couldn't really communicate through the aphasia. I had trouble reading. I basically just laid in bed and dissociated. But when I had days where I was a bit more together, I did research. And when I had doctor's appointments, I called them out. I made demands. I went through 7 specialists before. I found one that could help me. In the end, I got brain surgery, and it brought the pain down immensely. It didn't get rid of the pain. Nothing can do that, but I can get out of bed every day. I can watch TV in limited bursts. I can read. I can communicate. I can go for walks. I can function, basically. I can't work, but I can be okay with my life as it is right now. I've found things that make me happy and busy and content. I'm very active in the community for my illness, helping people understand what's going on and helping them fight to also find relief from the pain. Doctors suck at diagnosing and treating it, and it's obnoxious how much it is on the patient to advocate for themselves when they are barely functioning. Story 7. You awaken one day to realize you cannot die, not from age, injury, disease, starvation, or even self-destruction. The world decays around you. People you love vanish one by one. Centuries pass like days. You try to sleep, but your mind no longer needs rest. Memories begin to blur, names, faces, entire eras lost in the haze of time. Eventually, the earth becomes uninhabitable. You watch it wither into a desolate husk. You drift alone through space, feeling every agonizing moment, with no light, no warmth, no sound, just the unending prison of your own consciousness. You beg the universe for silence. You scream to gods you no longer believe in. You would trade everything for the sweet mercy of oblivion, but oblivion never comes. There is no end, just you, forever. Story 8. Living a life that never felt like yours. Wasting time, losing the people you love, and still being here without them, feeling like you were never enough. Getting to the end and realizing you didn't do what mattered. Finding out what comes after, whether that be something or if we just blink out of existence. Story 9. There is a state in which you're in a coma-like condition, fully aware of everything, but unable to move or respond. Story 10. Losing a child. Feels like dying, but you're stuck living every day without them, so it doesn't really feel like living, but more so dead inside every day. Story 11. Going to a criminal trial for CSA with the real possibility of doing hard time for something you didn't do and merely based on an accusation from someone that wants to destroy you over personal grievances. Story 12. From videos I've seen online recently, cartel torture, being born a harlequin ichthyosis baby in a third world country, rotting alive with parasites infesting you, a whole bunch of medical horrors, late-stage untreated Graves' disease, necrotizing fasciitis, and cancer can be horrific. Story 13. Severe treatment-resistant mental illness that you are very aware of, but cannot seem to do anything about. Ask 99 of people diagnosed with OCD why they're doing their compulsions or excessively worried about something seemingly random. They'll say, I don't know. It makes no sense. I know it is completely irrational, but I can't seem to stop. We all get anxious, sad, angry, and whatnot. But imagine washing your hands so many times in a row every day that the skin on your hands is always cracked and blistered, and you are genuinely unable to stop no matter how hard you try or how much it hurts. If managed properly, life can be pretty good though. It's the treatment-resistant cases that are excruciating. Answer. I grew up with a mother with severe treatment-resistant schizophrenia. It's hell. She has no real quality of life, couldn't work, couldn't hold a conversation at her worst, couldn't concentrate, couldn't feel emotions. She could never turn off the voices. They're with her, 247, usually being abusive and cruel. She's had her illness since she was 17, and she's now 72. She hasn't had more than an hour, if that, free of voices in all those years. Last August, I went through psychosis, and I'm only just coming out of it. Mine was caused by PTSD from harassment, but every day I remain utterly terrified. It'll turn into, or already is, schizophrenia. The psychiatrists are confident it's PTSD, and it'll get better with therapy, and in fairness, I'm slowly having longer stretches of feeling normal again. But it was the most horrific experience of my life. More so than the life-threatening harassment I faced. My mom and I have a lot of problems, mainly caused by her illness, as she was extremely neglectful and emotionally cold all my life. But while I still don't excuse her abuse of me, it gave me a new perspective on why she is the way she is. I never want to go back to that ever again. I'd literally rather die. Story 14. Being trapped inside your own body by a debilitating illness, ALS, MS, Huntington's disease, Alzheimer's, etc. Story 15. Living with chronic pain, especially if you're a black overweight woman. If you're in the US, getting taken seriously by doctors rather than being treated as simply substances seeking is much harder for blacks, those who are overweight, and for women. That demographic has a triple whammy. Story 16. Being trapped in a state where you can't change or evolve. Imagine every day being the same with no variation. Story 17. getting injured to the point of a vegetative state, and being kept alive for religious or political reasons. Story 18. Not taking care of yourself, having to clean up when you go to the bathroom, that for me is much worse. Story 19. Realizing you're dying while you're still alive, I'm not afraid of passing, but I don't want to die scared. Story 20. Partied too hard potential. Having an incredible talent at something and never even knowing it. Just living a miserable life without ever realizing what you're capable of. Story 21. One of my greatest fears is going into surgery and am conscious and feel everything, but can't move from the anesthesia. Story 22. While I like the dementia answer, I would go with locked-in syndrome. Fully coherent but unable to move anything beyond possibly fluttering your eyelids sounds like hell on earth. Story 23. Living with an illness knowing that it will eliminate you one day and not knowing when. Like having the Grim Reaper walking beside you. Story 24. Locked-in syndrome. Condition in which a patient is aware but cannot move or communicate verbally due to complete paralysis of nearly all voluntary muscles in the body except for vertical eye movements and blinking. Story 25. Well, I wouldn't say mine was worse than passing necessarily, but spending 4 years with epilepsy, having seizures and severe panic attacks multiple times per day, led me to basically being a physical zombie with some sort of my mental brain trapped inside. It's hard to describe. A great way to describe it was due to the seizures. It felt like a constant hard liquor hangover, 247. I'm very thankful that that's past me, but me in that moment being 4 straight years, wanted to die out of despair. Story 26. Learning the passing of a really close one. Once you went through this, you are terrified of the idea that it might happen again. Story 27. Being married with kids and worried about WTF will you do when you need help? History shows there will be none. Story 28. Since dying is not very frightening, I would says thousands of things are more frightening. Most of them specifically about not dying, but surviving. Story 29. Watch some of those videos about medieval torture methods. You'll find all the material you need there to answer this question. Story 30. With the time I waste on the life I never had, I could have turned myself into a better man. It's a lyric from Toad the Wet Sprocket that terrifies me. I don't want to look back and realize I could have been a much better person if I hadn't partied too hard time on fruitless endeavors or vain projects. Getting late in life with regret would be far worse than facing passing. One is inevitable, the other is uncorrectable. I'll take inevitability with peace over uncorrectable pain. Story 31. Immortality with chronic pain and/or Alzheimer has to be at the top of the list. You will be there even after the heat passing of the universe, in chronic constant pain while forgetting how to use anything from utensils to shoes. In the end, it will be just you and your lack of memory among the endless lightless space. Story 32. Living forever. Imagine being alone in the void for several trillion years, waiting for the heat passing of the universe. Story 33. Apparently, public speaking is rated more feared than dying, which means, on average, people prefer being in the casket than reading the eulogy. If you know, you know. Story 34. Probably Alzheimer's or dementia. You are still alive, but don't know what is going on. It's like you are not present. Story 35. Surviving my triple bypass only to lose the love of my life in the ensuing madness. I let the changes in my body and mind get to me emotionally. I neglected her to the point she threw me away. This is my hell. Story 36. Living with chronic pain, like crazily painful, mind-numbing pain. Every time I feel unhappy, I remind myself I could have been living with that. Story 37. Desperately wanting to die whilst having a fear of the pain accompanying passing, preventing you from taking the action yourself and forcing you to wait until it somehow, someday, finally happens. Story 38. Being immobile, unable to communicate, and in excruciating pain for very long duration of time. Dying is easy. Geez, just like falling asleep and never waking up. Big deal. Pain and suffering. F that. Pop me a bunch of fentanyl, please. Story 39. I think living forever might be worse. It's an odd thing. We don't want to die, but living forever is still worse. Story 40. Living. Way more scary for me, especially since I broke my back working, and now I can't even pay bills and feed myself with disability, praying for that eternal sleep soon. Story 41. Any sort of serious brain injury issue. Having an aneurysm has to be one of the most scariest things I had ever heard of, and now I'm terrified I will have that will rupture every day. I know I am being dramatic, but I also have another fear I believe is more frightening than passing. Derealization, disassociation. It has happened to me once last year, and now I live forever with fear it will happen again. Sometimes even imagining and thinking about it makes me feel detached from reality, and believing I'm already dead, that this is just my life in my imagination. Dying is nothing to me. I have no fear of it. And if it happens, it happens. However, I start to panic when I overthink it and think I'm about to die every minute of my day. Story 42. Have you read the book Elantris? That would be worse. Immortality, but where the pain of every single injury, subbed toe, broken arm, paper cut, etc., never goes away. Story 43. Being forced to live but being unable to move, talk, communicate, or do anything else. Just being hooked up to machinery. Story 44. Being blind, deaf, partially paralyzed, and redacted but not too redacted. Like you know the reason but you don't know why. Story 45. Dying isn't frightening. One day the lights turn off and you enter a deep sleep. Pain is frightening, being in terminal pain without a cure or relief. Story 46. Those guys exploring the Viet Cong tunnels filled with scorpions and snakes in the dark. Yeah, I'd rather die. Story 47. Parkinson's disease. My grandfather has it. The dementia aspect of it just started for him a few years ago, and it has been heartbreaking to watch him go through it. He's trapped in a body that just doesn't want to work anymore. We just had to move him into a long-term care facility this month after he took a really bad fall and was knocked unconscious for 30 minutes. He had a brain bleed, and now he basically has to relearn how to walk and sit down and stuff. He just wants to go home, but he won't be able to since he needs 247 care now. Story 48. I don't think dying is frightening. If anything, it's the easiest, most peaceful thing there is. It's survival that the challenge that's what takes courage. Story 49. Samsara. I had psychosis back in August, and I kept having these hallucinations and delusions of being trapped in samsara for eternity, each lifetime slowly getting worse and worse until my soul went crazy with no way of ever escaping. It still terrifies me. Story 50. If the universe goes on and reincarnation of any type is a thing, what happens when the universe eventually ends? Story 51. I don't know, I work with ALS patients on track vents, and for the most part, your mind is intact, and you can still experience pain, but you're basically just a head. This with wounds, contractures, frequently aspirating. There just has to be better outcome in passing. Just my observations, my feelings go out to family or individuals experiencing this awful affliction. Story 52. Being old and unable to take care of myself anymore, I would never want to wish away my life in any way, but that isn't living. Story 53. Dying forever in hell. Knowing you could has been saved if you just believed in Jesus Christ, our only Lord and Savior. That is more frightening and horrible than passing of the body. Story 54. Living with the combination of chronic illnesses I suffer from, slowly sliding into decrepitude, trapped inside my body with no way out. Story 55. Losing my kids, I couldn't live through that. I could maybe pull through if I lost one, but if I lost both, I'd quit. Story 56. For me, it's the thought of my child dying before me. Sadly, I have witnessed this several times with friends and family over the years, and no matter how old your child is, they are forever your baby. You birthed them, nurtured them, and helped them in life one way or another. I just can't imagine ever being without them. Story 57. Your body's slow deterioration. That's why I have an exit strategy. I will not let myself become immobile or bedridden. Then my family will have to care for me, and that is not an option for me. I don't want anyone to see me fall apart, get ghastly, and then go. If anything comes down the pipe that is incurable or has a realistically high mortality rate, I will get my affairs in order, possibly take a week vacation, then after a month exit.